Welcome to the Enlighten Up podcast, where I am going to take you into a deep exploration of what it means to exist in this current reality. We are going to raise your vibes, open your mind, expand your heart, and dive deep into the wondrous mysteries and possibilities of this lifetime. There's been a spiritual catalyst that has set in motion the awakening process of many across the globe to return to the knowingness of self and unite what has been separated. Together, we're going to bring light into that darkness. We're going to remember the joy of living. But most of all, we're going to turn up the volume of our own eternal power and do the thing we're here to do. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Enlighten Up podcast. And today I have a most special treat for all of you. I hope that you are not multitasking right now, because today I want your full attention. I want to introduce you to Jennifer Longmore, who is an award-winning CEO, 11-time best-selling author, and founder of the #1 Akashic Record Training School in the world. And over the past 20 years, her school has certified over 100,000 consultants in over 100 countries. But she is also a clear channel for Mother Malia, the great mother who comes to Earth during times of great transition, which I think we can all agree we are in right now. And like the collective ascension we are experiencing right now, she began to channel Mother Malia and sought the Great Mother's guidance when facing questions of challenge she could not answer clearly herself. But now she is in 24/7 channel mode with Mother Malia. So we will call you now Mother Malia as we go forward. How are you today?
Well, it is my great joy and honor to be here with you today, as you know, and as you can see from my face, I am in neutrality and above, so I am smiling all the time. And my eyes don't close because I'm channeling. My eyes close because when I have a lot of joy, it contracts the muscles in the cheeks and closes my eyes.
It's like the smiling Buddha,
Yes,
the laughing Buddha.
yes.
So, okay, so this is very interesting. I have never had anyone on the show who now operates as a 100% in clear channel all the time. So this raises some very big questions before we go into the really big transition that I think we're all in the midst of this summer, which we're going to talk about timeline shifting and jumps in a moment, guys, in a moment. But before we get there, you have a family, correct? Here on Earth?
Yes, I do. I have a husband and I have a son.
Okay, so roll back the tapes
Yes.
and tell me what happened when Jennifer Longmore stepped aside and you took over full time. What was that like from your perspective? And then I think you could probably speak to both your husband and your son's perspective.
Yes. Well, thank you for asking that. And yes, you will hear that my human is here about 20% because she must tether the body. She must tether me or I will just float away like a helium balloon, you know. She has to know how to type the messages and other such things. But I have always, my human part, I will say, has always channeled Mother Malia since I was very young. But 6 days before my sold out retreat last year in Sedona, I was at a private horse retreat. And I said, I just want to make $1 million a month channeling 24/7. And I'm not joking. Yeah. And the horse came out, one of the horses came out and gave me a beautiful anointing. I can't even translate it because it was beyond words. You know, the sacred horse, as we know, is the second highest vibration on the planet. And I remember declaring it thinking, I could feel it. And I know we all get that moment when you declare something, you say, oh, I'm a little nervous to declare this because it's going to change everything. And I could feel it. But the one, I won't say concern, but the one thing I was mindful of was, okay, what is this going to do to my marriage? Because I didn't know why, other than just, you know. And so 6 days later, I'm in the middle of my retreat in Sedona on day 3. I go to bed as Jennifer, and I wake up in the middle of the night as Mother Malia. And I said, why are you here? And she said, well, we have impending doom on the planet. And then 6 days later, the bombing started in Israel. And I said, well, why did you wait until now? We have a lot of work to do. And why didn't you come, 20 years ago? She said, I needed you to learn how to be human and integrate with the humans. I needed you to build a reputation so that when I came through, you will be taken seriously, meaning Mother Malia.
Yeah.
So,
Good
yes.
strategy.
Yes, exactly. So I get asked a lot about my relationship with my husband, and I have no problem sharing this. And I think it will be very wonderful for everyone to hear, because I know that everyone listening is very aware of what is happening in the world, of course. And in 2020, I will not have known that my husband and I were not on the same page until it became very clear on the first day of lockdown, when I started laughing. I said, oh, it looks like the silly billies really went ahead with their silly plan. And he said, what are you talking about? People are dying of this. And I said, oh, goodness. And so for that first, I would say probably 6 months of all of the silly business in 2020, I thought, oh, goodness, are we going to make it? Like, we are really.
So in 2020, you had already taken over the body full time, pretty
No,
much?
I have always been channeling Malia, but what I mean is my husband, I will say for ease, drinks the Kool-Aid.
Yes. Okay.
He,
So while you were still Jennifer, but channeling Mother Malia, you were going
yeah,
through this during the 2020 period, which we all know was,
yes,
yes, a
yeah.
very interesting plan execution.
Yes, I know. If only all the light leaders had that much dedication to their plan, we will have already reclaimed the planet. They are meticulous. They have all the time in the world. Kind of like
Yeah.
my dog. She says, "I will sit here all day, squirrel, until you fall in my mouth. I have nowhere else I need to be." They have all the time in the world. But my
Okay.
point for
So
sharing
you,
this
as
is
just
that,
as your human self, you started to realize there was a disconnect between,
oh yeah,
yeah, your
yeah.
perceptions of the world. Okay.
Yes, and I never wanted to be with someone that was very woo. I don't know how else to explain that, because I don't need to live and breathe this 24/7, you know what I mean, in my human self. But what I'm illustrating is that because a lot of people think, well, how can he be your person if you are so opposite on your perception of the universe? So to fast forward to last year, I couldn't help it. I was picking up the Voxer trying to send him messages, and back then I could not control the voice box, and so I was singing all of my words. And so here his wife is in the middle, is away, and I am now singing messages to him, and I kept saying, I am normal, I promise. And I could feel him rise to the occasion, though, is my point. The reason I share this is because each of us have a sacred mission, and the mission will call forward whoever is meant to support the mission. And so, although logically it does not make sense for us to be together based on our belief system, he is very open, by the way. He is not ready to hear some of the things. And frankly, even in the light leader community, people are still having a lot of cognitive dissonance, aren't they?
Oh,
And
yes.
so, and so
May I just say really
yes,
quickly, I really love that about your marriage because I personally too don't think I could be with a man who's woo. Like I
yeah,
mean, even sometimes I feel like I'm too much for myself and I feel like sometimes I want to scale it back because it's there are so many beautiful aspects of just being grounded here, on this
yeah,
planet.
yeah.
And I think that in order for me to be able to go beyond into some of the different kind of dimensions and really allow myself to expand, it would serve me better to have a partner who is more grounded in more of the 3D type realities here.
Yeah, yes, that is exactly it. And we are best friends. He is my person. I can't describe it. We just knew the first
Mm.
time we met, and it has been that way ever since. So when I say back in when I made the declaration that I will channel 24/7, um, going in hindsight, I now realize the human part just had to consent and sort of bring awareness to what was already going to come. If you get what I'm saying, it was already planned. But my point for sharing this is that a lot of people struggle with finding their person, or they worry about it. I say, no, if you have a big mission, I guarantee your person is out there. You can't do it alone. You need the companionship. You need sacred companionship, even if it is not all the woo, because yes, just like you said, Nicole, like even with friends, I say, I don't want to go out for dinner and just talk about energy and all the things. Like, let's just talk about grass and meaning like a grass that grows on the ground. I mean to say,
No, I know. It's so
yeah,
wild that you're okay. There's a couple points here, and I don't want to forget them. I completely agree. I obviously, when I was in the beginning stages of my very extreme awakening, which started around 2016, I had slowly been awakening through my teenage years, but that was a pivotal point where, and all I wanted to do was drink up as much spirituality and energy talk. And like, I wanted to be around intuitives and psychics and energy healers. And like, I just wanted it all, astrology. And now I really feel myself finding that balance, like went from one polarity to the other. And now it's like, I don't want to always talk about the meditation and all. I mean, I'm living it all day long. I just that's why I started a series. Like, and I haven't been able to catch up on it, but I started recapping reality TV shows from like a spiritual, more awakened like perspective, just because it's fun for me. It's what grounds me. It helps me stay in this like kind of earthly existence at times. But you
yeah.
also said something there that I think is really important. You said when you have a sacred mission, you can't do it alone. Like the right person will show up. They need to show up for you to be a success. And that is something that I have been realizing over the last year or so is how important it is for me to not try to do everything alone anymore and to allow the
Yeah.
people in.
Yes, that is exactly it. And we when we are light leaders, we leave, we're in energy all the time. We can get very myopic, I will say, in the energy and the astrologies, you know what I mean? We can kind of, I will say for ease, geek out on those things. But yes, we must, and of course, it is not that I am a part of his mission too, whatever he is going to bring forward, but uh, I do, it's really a matter, like we were talking about timelines before, you mentioned that briefly, a timeline is just a choice point, and
Mm-hmm.
a choice point starts with a decision,
Mm-hmm.
and so sometimes we don't leap into the timeline that has our, let's say, for example, in this case, our partner with us, or our line partner, I shall say, because we haven't decided. We decide, it creates a new choice point. It can be that quick. The secondary piece of this is that we must evaporate all other timelines that are now irrelevant, because people will have a pinky toe in one timeline, a strand of hair in another, a baby toe in another. We can have multiple timelines open, and that actually distills the potency of the ultimate timeline that
Yes.
is our highest ascension point.
I literally just took a group through how to navigate timeline fluctuations, because you can have parts of yourself still gravitating towards other timelines. You may have like reached a newer, higher timeline, so to speak, I don't know what other words to use, but you can then notice that you're going to be fluctuating. It almost feels like you're coming in and out of different ones, or ones that feel lower, not exactly where you thought you were. And there are certain things that you need to do to navigate to really solidify yourself. And like you said, allow those other ones to evaporate.
Yes, and that is just a decision too. So sometimes we don't have the person because we haven't decided to, because of whatever stories might be in the brain. Of course, I'm going to get hurt, or often it is that people don't trust their judgment. They don't trust their channel. The channel is always clear. It is a matter of trusting it. And sometimes it's that we love to be, because in our original coding, we love to be in the field of possibility. How it plays out in human form is we can have, I would just say for ease, too many doors of possibility open at one time. And so no door can open or close, because we are standing in front of too many doors saying, oh, I love the door frame on that. Oh, but I love the door handle on that. And, at some point we have to understand that regardless of what door we walk through, we will still have the same opportunities for mastery presented. But yes, the actual, the overarching mastery, I suppose, will be available in each timeline. It is a matter of the more particulars about what gets called in three-dimensionally, I will just say for ease. Like one timeline might be you living in another country, it might be dating this person, it might be whatever. But when you get to the end of the hall, the mastery is still the same, regardless of the door you choose.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Can
Yeah.
you speak to, because this is something that I know it's been brought up in my alchemy program by some people. I know that some people feel this way, and so I'm assuming more than just some in my audience feel this way, but they're almost afraid to choose. And so they find themselves in this limbo because it's like there's a fear that they're going to choose the wrong one and they're going to find themselves down the wrong path or somewhere where they didn't want to go. And there's like a fear of commitment to that. Can you speak to
Oh,
why that's
yes.
happening and how to navigate that?
Yes, well, that comes back to trusting the channel, because when you remember that you are created in divine perfection,
Mm.
and that divine perfection will always lead you to where you need to go, you can't make a wrong choice. Some of it could be trauma. What happened to me when I was little, for example, when I was made wrong, is it safe for me to be wrong? I talk a lot about trauma. Also, when people have neurodivergence at play, they are so used to saying, I don't fit into this world. I feel like a big weirdo. They're so used to standing out and being odd. And, I'm not saying that they are. I'm just mean like that is a thing that a lot of what prevents us from moving forward is this intersection of trauma and neurodivergence. Because let's be honest, anyone that is a channel is likely neurodiverse, whether they have been diagnosed or not. And I do not want to label, trust me. The secondary piece of this is sometimes we are choosing things that we don't actually want. And that is
Hmm.
why we are not bringing them forward, because perhaps we don't realize we have been programmed. Let me give you an example. Back when I first started my business 20 years ago, the trajectory for healers, how you knew you made it, is you get a book on Hay House, you get on their stages, you end up on Oprah,
Yeah.
right? So that was the path, whether you wanted it or not. This is the only way I will know if I have done right by my community. This is the only way I will have made it, or whatever. And then, and I started to take that journey. I started to started the foundations for a reality show on the energy of money back in 2012. And I was in talks with Hay House to publish a book and other such things. And then all of a sudden, and it will have been Malia, of course, back then, but she just put a big thud in it. And all of a sudden, it just I had no desire to do it. Like I almost wanted to throw up in my mouth. I will say jokingly, because I just said, no, this is not what I want. Well, can you imagine? Because knowing what I know now about the Hay House, other such things, I will have no desire to be aligned with that anyways. Uh, but this is often what will happen. Either within our community, we are told this is the path, and this is how you know you have made it as a life leader in your industry, for example, or whatever industry, of course. Sometimes it is a partner or a parent or someone that says you must do this. And sometimes it is a previous version of us that really got fixated on, I'm going to do this thing. But then when we really tune in, we say, you know what? I have outgrown that now. I no longer have resonance for that thing that I once wanted. It doesn't mean it was bad. It's just I don't have resonance for it anymore.
Okay. I'm going to ask you some really fun questions right now.
Okay,
Okay.
fire away. Yeah.
And I know my audience is going to get a kick out of this because I'm just going to let the spiritual kid inside of me like have some fun right now.
Okay.
Do you only work with planet Earth or are there other places that you work with to help them through their transition phase?
Oh, I see. Yes. Well, maybe I could just spend a moment talking about who Mother Malia actually is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I will also like to say that, as we all know, how the matrix works, rule number one is whoever controls the information controls the people. Now, the reason I'm sharing that is because then we know that what is reported in history is not necessarily accurate.
Hmm.
Also, what is absent in the history books is something
Yes.
we want to pay attention to. So,
My
fast
audience
forward
is
to,
very attuned to all of this. Yeah.
yes.
So,
So Mother Malia is often very familiar to the light leaders because, yes, I am here to, well, boy, where do I start? Okay. So, according to history, in 12,000 BC was the last time I was on this planet. Now we know that that will be distortion, but just to give it illustration, that is, I only come during times of great transition. And I had such significance that in Greece, who is also considered the ancient steward of the bee, as I am, because the bee is the highest form of consciousness, and the bee, the hum of the bee, is the sound of creation, because the world was created, the universe, I shall say for ease, was created with sound, and then it became light, and then it became form. And so in Greece, which I will be going to this fall and leading a retreat there as well, to have phase 2 of my 3-part anointing, I shall say, as Mother Malia. The ancient Greeks take great pride in being the steward for the bee. And the Grecian people, of course, are wonderful, but as we know, in any country, there will be a lot of distortion. Now, why is this relevant? Because people will often say to me, I have never heard of Mother Malia. And I say, the better question to ask is, why haven't you heard of Mother Malia? Because in Greece, they have named a bee after me, they have named an island after me, and they have named a palace after me. And yet, where will you find me? In the history books.
Nowhere.
Exactly. You will find the Jesus. Yeah.
Mm.
Yes.
Okay. So okay, so talk to me about your work with Greece then, in the past,
Yes. Well,
or
it
whatever
is
it was
not.
back then.
Yes. Well, back to the bee, because as I mentioned, the bee is the highest point of consciousness, I suppose, on the planet. And so that is what I'm here to do. So I am here to bridge I am here to bridge the cosmos. I'm here to reawaken, to completely remove the veil between the humans and Christos, which is creation. You see why so many are led back to the Bible
Mm-hmm.
and to the Jesus story, because enough of their original coding will say, oh, that name sounds familiar. Some of this sounds familiar. But there is a course that is one of the most prominent books on the world stage. Why is that in the courtroom, which is their system, if there is truth in that book? You
Mm-hmm.
see what I'm saying? And people will get very upset with me, and that's okay, because the issue with all of humanity is that their religion programs, I don't mean Christian, I mean the satanic cult, I will just call them, I call them the blood cult. Their biggest paradigm that they have overarching all of the humans here on the planet is savior, sacrifice, suffering. So people being told that it is the end of the world constantly, that it is coming, the Bible seems to answer that. And so they say, well, I must then believe in the Bible because I'm here, I need to be saved because I'm suffering. In divine perfection, there is no suffering. And that also cannot come with us into the new earth.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why, of course, many um, stories on the world stage will be believed is because there is a heavy programming and distortion around needing to be saved. And yet our entire journey here is to restore full sovereignty. And that starts with us meeting sovereign to sovereign with each other and viewing our clients as sovereign, etc. So the point is that I'm here to remove the veil of all the distortions that keep people from knowing the truth of where they come from through all space and time.
Okay, so then bringing me back to my original question, do
Yes.
you work predominantly with the planet Earth, or have you other planets
Oh,
that have gone through similar things that you can recall?
well, there won't be other things like this on the other planets that people, there is no such thing as planets, by the way. They are just
Oh,
called that. They are realms, they are centers of energy, I suppose I will say, that have certain textures. We do not have round planets. That is a distortion. We have certain energies that exist within the field, including the satanic cult. We need them. We already knew. They are playing their role perfectly, except they are no longer playing the role perfectly because they have overstepped the boundary. They have overstepped the agreement. And that is why we are feeling the sacred indignation to say, this is not what we agreed to. You are taking liberties here, and you are trying to take over the whole planet, all of humanity, and destroy the planet. I guess you hear me called it the planet, but it's really
yeah,
called a
yeah.
plane.
So
Uh,
then what you're saying is, we all, I mean, a lot of us, at least in my audience, we understand this to some degree, but maybe we don't even
yeah,
realize what we're understanding,
yes,
that we all come in here knowing that we have an agreement with these different factions of
yes,
groups and things like that that have different ideas of what needs to happen here. And we all agreed knowing that we're going to come in and we're going to play in this role, and it's going to
yes,
provide us different avenues of exploring the experience that we want to have here and grow
yeah,
through. And that if that agreement is, like you said, overstepped or changed without
Yeah.
consent,
Yes.
then that's when we start to feel this jarring energy, maybe. I don't know what else to
Yes.
call it, but something that pushes
Yes.
us to, or calls us, I could say, to maybe push back.
Yes, yes, that is exactly it. I call it sacred indignation because our original coding, regardless of how much distortion might be keeping us from awareness of our original coding, on a primal level, we will have a reaction
Mhm.
when we say, "Wait a minute, this does not feel right." And that is what's happening right now. We need, if ascension had have been like a hangnail, nobody will be ascending because they'll say, "Oh, well, I'll just put a band-aid on it. It is just an inconvenience." But when we are getting, I will just say playfully, getting donkey kicked in the face, we say, "I better address this, and I better, and that is where we're at now. We do not have the luxury to decide whether we are going to put a mission before monkey mind. There's literally no more time. We're about to enter into a very interesting timeline. We are about 40% mass consciousness. We need 11% more light. I don't mean we need 11% more people awakening in the process of ascension. I mean that even among the light leaders, we need them to be pristine stewards of the body to be able to hold more light, and we need them to be impeccable stewards of consciousness to stop letting the silly programs and other such things into the consciousness.
Mhm.
Yeah. And because we do have a new wave of humans that will wish to come onto the planet, they have a slightly greater volume of water content that they are made of. So they require a much higher frequency in a body that they will step into. And right now, the human bodies as a collective energy, I will just say, are not quite able to hold the vibration of the new people that are ready to come in, because most of them will not be babies. Most of them will be walk-ins. They will be
Oh,
taking over 20, 30, 40-year-old bodies, for example. And so the more we are able to prepare the body, because you see, the body is the final frontier for ascension. Light leaders love to be out of the body. They love to be on the magic carpet. They love to meditate for hours. They love to do the ayahuasca. They love to do all of the escapism. And they came here to be human. And I will say that being a human is uh, is held in high regard amongst, I will just say for ease, the ethereal beings that are cheering humanity on right now.
why is that?
Uh, because there is so much, humans are an essential part of accelerating the collective Christos, I will just say for ease, right? So there is a lot of evolution that happens beyond the human terms, I shall say, when we are when we are becoming human. So we are only human because of a body, and yet we spend our lives resisting it, judging it, trying to be a drill sergeant with it, depriving it. You get what I mean. And then, but it is a high honor to be a human and to understand that the body is a tour guide here, and it
Mhm.
has its own consciousness, and it is in agreement with us to do this. But I will say, in the ethereal realm, just for ease of use, we are held in high regard. There is so much admiration for us. And so this will be another piece of this, is that the light leaders must come into the body and be grounded. And it is not that there is judgment around these various ways that we leave the body. It is about asking, why am I needing to leave the body? I can tell myself it is because I want to have a trip, an experience, or whatever. But you see, in this energy, as you can already see, Nicole, I am high 24/7 because I am in neutrality and above. So uh, we have many, I like to just call it the tunnel of light or the highway of light. We will have just a gazillion, bajillion, quadrillion strands of light, streams of consciousness, I will say, that form our, infinite realm from where we come. And we choose to have an aspect of that stream come here in human form. And so we need humanity. We need this planet. This is the only place that humans exist. We need this planet. This planet is for creation. It is for experience. And we will get it. We are very close. In fact, the whole point is we have already won the war, and I can tell you all the reasons we have won the frequency war. But we are now just here to remember how we did it.
Okay. Well, okay. Tell us how we won the
Yes.
frequency war.
Yes. Well, we hold the energy of joy, which is what I'm holding. That sounds very simple, but the average light leader can hold about 30 minutes of joy before bumping out of the body, because there is arrogance in the spiritual community that they all think they are masters of energy. No, they are good at reading energy. They are good at accessing energy. They are good at twirling energy around their fingers. What they are still mastering is being able to hold energy in the body, which of course allows people to hold more money and all of the other things as well. So your ability to hold more money is a direct reflection of your ability to hold more energy. But the point is that joy is the highest frequency. It is not that joy is the highest frequency. It is that the highest frequency expresses as joy.
Okay,
Yes.
I apologize for interrupting you. So
No,
are
it's
you
okay.
saying then that is this one of the reasons why, aside from maybe the programming, but also the energetic equation of why so many people in spiritual communities or religious communities um can't attract money or refuse it? Or is it just because they can't hold the energy, or because they're constantly going outside of themselves, going
Yes.
outside the body, that if they learned how to be
Yes.
in the body and hold that vibration and not resist the body, that they could actually have that tangible money abundance that is an energetic form?
Yes, that is definitely part of it. There are many things that can be barriers for the light leaders for sure. One is that we are all in an ownership contract with the blood cult. We are all cult members, according to how this has played out. I don't mean that I view it that way, but you get what I mean. I
Yeah.
mean, philosophically,
Yes.
we are all owned by the cult on some level. And so that is their job, is to help us remember our sovereignty and to stand for it. You know, right now we have wild horses being rounded up every day down in the US, which is sovereignty. The horse, its medicine is sovereignty. That is literally a sacred medicine. And the humans are not understanding that this is a precursor to what is to come. There is going to be a roundup of sovereignty in general. So we can sit and wait for someone to come along and promise to save the day, like deceiver Donald Trump.
Yes.
Yes, Mrs. Donald Trump, I will say, because I hope everyone knows that is a woman.
Well, of all things I was not expecting to hear on this podcast today, that would probably take the cake.
Yes, there is a reason he is constantly mocked for having small hands. Yeah. Well,
Okay.
physiologically, men have very large hands, right? All you have to do, if you understand the male and human body, it is very easy to identify who is, because let's back up the truck, so to speak. We are here. Here's why we have won. Because I am the steward of the bee. And when I became Malia, someone's phone rang and I laughed for an hour straight, and everyone laughed with me, not knowing why, because I was laughing so hard. It was a mechanical bee. And I thought, if that is the best that they can do to replicate the bee, which is creation, then we have already won. That is the first part. There's a lot of restoration of the bee that must happen between distorting the colony, distorting the queen. There's a reason that the Queen of England wears a bee crown on her head, because the bee brain holds the codes of creation. And we share the same chemical makeup as the bee, if you get what I'm saying. We are just remembering that. I could go on and on about the distortions for the bee. But back to why we have won, we are in a frequency war. So if people think, oh, I'm going to protest, I'm going to get my planet back. No, no. That if that was work, that, you know, we are creators. We create whatever we desire. We hold a very high frequency. All that they can do is invert what we create, right?
I agree with you, and I think this is something that is so difficult, especially because there is this program of needing to push back in order to win, so to
Yeah.
speak. And it's not that I don't think there's a part of you that shouldn't want to rise to the occasion and be your best self. And sometimes that means you got to fight in a sense to bring the energy up. You've got to fight sometimes to go in the direction that you're so programmed to go into, to give yourself easily over to certain emotions, like, and so I don't think the word fight so much is a bad word, although it can be taken that way and used in different ways.
Yeah.
But when I when I realized that I was going to have to take the shot, which was something I was so vehemently against, it was because I knew that there was a path I needed to take and stay on. And if I didn't take it, it would have taken me off the path in a really different way. And I'm not saying I wouldn't have been able to get back on the path, but it would have really distorted everything for me and put me back, I think, years. And so I got it, but I went into it knowing, okay, this is a teaching moment for me. What if this thing that everyone's so scared of, if I use it as a teacher of mysticism, and I used it to raise my vibration so high that no matter what they're throwing at me or trying to put in me, it's not going to affect me. I won't let it. It's my sovereignty, my body. I choose how everything interacts with it. And so for me, it was a really big lesson on how to shift my landscape of how I perceived being sovereign. Yes, I could have fought back and I could have said no. And I'm not saying there was anything wrong with that for people who did do that. But for me, knowing what my mission is and what I'm here to do, I knew that it was bigger than even that. Like, in a sense of, I have to rise above this. I have to not let it be better than me, in a sense, bigger than me. I have to know how to transmute this. I need to know how to alchemize it. And so that, I think, is a way of really owning your own sovereignty and choosing that in a way that it doesn't matter what they throw at you. You always have a way around it, through it, above it, out. Like, it's just, there's always options.
Yes, absolutely. And that is one of the gazillion ways that they distort the bee by giving out, the bee only stings. She is very uh, uh, protective of her stinger. It is sacred medicine. She does not go around willy-nilly just stinging she does not sting millions of humans. Her stinger is sacred medicine. So you see yet another hijacking of the
Mm-hmm.
bee by giving out the fake bee stings from the moment of birth. I
Mm-hmm.
am speaking more about the protesting and other such things. If we already know that we have access to much higher frequencies than they do, they cannot replicate our frequency. All they can do is mimic it. You
Mm.
see?
Mm-hmm.
So we have already won, but we must remember that. And yes, I will also say for the fake bee sting that was people were being pressured into, that is a complicated situation because the body is the tour guide. Uh, the body the body said, okay, fine, I am consciousness. I am just, thin air, so to speak. I will shapeshift into physical form and become a human body, but understand that if I'm going to become human again, or, whatever, let's assume again, that I have some things that I would like to experience that may not make sense to your human.
Mm-hmm.
And so if the body did not want to have that experience, it simply will not have.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
You know?
Absolutely. I can totally see
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
And because something would have happened, you would have been interfered with or blocked to your appointment or whatever. For me, I knew that that was not for me,
Mm-hmm.
but every single one in my family got it multiple
Mm-hmm.
times over. My parents, my husband, my son, etc. And I said, well, if they end up in the hospital, I'm going to need to be able to get into the hospital because at the time, many of my clients were not getting it and were having to say goodbye to the relatives over Zoom.
Mm.
And I hope the nurses that created that will be able to be okay with themselves for having relatives die in the hospital alone because they did not have the shots to come in and say goodbye to their loved ones.
Yeah.
But I saw what was happening and I thought, well, because they don't understand my choice, if I don't, if I don't have papers, because that's all I did was get myself some papers. That is why I want all the light leaders to be fully financially resourced, because we are going to have to keep using money to outcreate the silly business that's going to keep coming. And I am aware, because one of my clients is an immigration lawyer, that you cannot get a green card or US citizenship without having it, you
Mhm.
know. And I will imagine that will be the case in probably many countries. But the point is that I I knew I was not meant to have that experience. And
Mhm.
so I said, well, I will happily invest in a set of papers, simply to because my family will not understand, and all they will remember is that my principles overrode being able to visit them in the hospital, because
Mhm.
that is the level of consciousness they are at. And so I will have actually, frankly, not even want to have the papers. I don't even like them having them in my field. But that is just me, because I'm aware and I've been inside many bodies to see what is happening inside of the body. I already know right away when someone has had it, because there are very consistent markers in the body when people have had it. It
Mhm.
doesn't mean people can't transmute it, and it doesn't mean that some people will not have gotten placebo without realizing it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So yes, but that is the whole point. We are creator beings. We know how to outcreate anything we desire. That
Mhm.
the issue is we don't use our creative abilities to our full potential. And so it doesn't mean it is good or bad, because if the body wanted to have that experience, that is wonderful. There's a lot of judgment just around the fake beasting. But when people understand the context, that there are many reasons why people chose that experience that don't have to make sense to other people.
Yeah, no,
Because,
I completely
it's,
agree. I think
yeah,
everyone's going to have their own reasons, and it's a variety of that. And at the same, this is an individual experience. Then we work together, but that doesn't mean that we all become the same person. So,
yeah,
speaking of interesting times,
yeah,
in May, I received a message that we were going to be going through a very major timeline shift collectively here during the summer. And I
mm,
feel like we just kind of went through that, or maybe we're
yeah.
still going through it. I don't know, but something really shifted this month. Can you speak to what's kind of going on?
Yes, well, we are being prepared. We just don't have any more time anymore for people to decide whether they're going to be devoted to their mission or not.
Mhm.
We can see this playing out in the US, and what happens in the US affects the whole world, because not that the US determines that. We already know the back-facing puppet masters already have the plan. But we do know that they accelerate the plan to the degree that they know that there is more light coming on the planet. Right? So if there is more light coming on the planet, if there is a greater sense of urgency to spread light, then that means they are upping their plan, and vice versa. And so this was the year already, we were going to see a lot of people choosing to leave the planet. And that's what I meant about the walk-in. Some people will leave behind the body, but a new soul will take over the body. And others will just simply leave because either they are feeling complete here, or because the frequency they just won't be able to be here, you
Mhm.
know. But yes, we did see a lot of silly weather business, I will say, just for ease, a lot of weather manipulation. We see a lot of frequency being transmitted right now. I'm calling it playfully Bickerfest 2024, where they will transmit the frequencies through the devices and other such things uh, to um, to accelerate that low level snarkiness that the humans will have with each other, to again create the divide and conquer. And and so we are seeing more of that now, but
Mhm.
we are getting ready to enter into, they are about to attempt at least to bring a very large dark cloud over humanity, I guess will be the easiest way to say that. And darkness isn't necessarily a bad thing. People can go sailing in calm waters in the dark,
Mhm.
and there will be lights in the sky that guide them home, and there will be a lighthouse on the shore, etc. Darkness, we can still create. In fact, we have to be more aware in the darkness.
Mhm.
If you're sailing and it's dark, you have to actually attune your senses to be more aware.
Yes.
And so this is an opportunity to cultivate the well, we are now being invited to really master our telekinesis, telepathy, bilocation, other such things. our original coding basically. And so because we are bringing more and more to light, I suppose will be the easiest way to say it. That means we're able to access more light, which means that the distortions are going to have to keep falling away. And so, yes, we are going to see now a refinement in the light leader community about people really understanding some of the things that they thought to be true that perhaps may not be as true as they thought, based on the savior paradigm that I was mentioning. And then we must also, many light leaders are straddling the 3D, 5D, which is 4D, and 4D is still the problem paradigm, and we are meant to be moving into the possibility paradigm. So for me, I do not have any problems. I can't have any problems because there are no problems. Do you get what I mean? In my human, yeah, I will have been able to tell you all the problems, but in this form, there are no problems. And what I mean by that, trauma is not a problem. Trauma is trauma. Systemic issues are not problems. They are systemic issues. So people will get upset with me saying, what about this? What about that? No, I'm talking about self-created problems. I'm talking about many of that coming from judgment. There's still a lot of judgment in the light leader community. There are a lot of cheap shots that get taken, oh, that person's running dark energy. Well, yes, of course, there are dark, you know what I mean? But there's no way to prove as a light leader that you are not channeling dark energy if people are committed to doing that. But that is the same as making fun of someone's body, for example. It is a cheap shot. It is I call it Enlightenment Olympics. Who's more enlightened than a fifth grader? Where people want to prove that I'm more clear than you are, etc., etc. None of that can come into the new paradigm with us. It just can't. I have no worries because I simply cannot, because I live in neutrality and above, which means I cannot judge. I cannot make meaning of things.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm. You mentioned the savior, we'll just call it the savior narrative or complex, that, and this is
Yeah.
something I've been wanting to do a video on, but you're here, so why don't we just kind of talk about it really quickly?
Yeah.
This idea like that we might have one person or one event that saves us, whatever it
Yeah.
might be. And I've had to talk about this with several of my clients as I took them through their own kind of understanding of what's kind of really holding them back or slowing them down from whatever progress they're trying to make. And this idea of people who need you to save them.
Yeah.
When we hold this idea or this belief that we are here to save other people, in order for that to be true, we have to project onto them that they need us and that
Yeah.
they can't do it on their own. Like they can't do it without us. And it's a little bit of a narcissistic kind of a tendency,
Yeah.
for us to kind of hold that place. And I mean, I'm guilty of it. I've in my earlier parts of my awakening, I was like, no, I'm here to like, awaken people. I'm here to say, and it's just like, no, like it has nothing to do with that. Because if I truly believe that, then I need other people to always be a victim. And if I always need a victim, then I'm perpetuating the matrix cycle that we continuously live in. And so
Yeah.
if you think that you're here to save someone, then you believe that you need them to be a victim, which means you're buying into this complete cycle that you actually want to rise above.
Yes. Absolutely. Well, if we are going to scream for our sovereignty and then treat people like victims and not treat people like sovereign beings, then we are being incongruent.
Mm-hmm.
So this is really more another opportunity to be congruent in what we claim to stand for. There are
Mm-hmm.
many light leaders that will wear the title of light leader, but they are not fully calibrated to that, I suppose, will be the easiest way to say that. Just like many sanctuaries for animals are, sanctuaries in name only, but you get behind the closed doors and say, goodness me, there's nothing serene in here for the animals at all.
It's one thing that I think is so important is to not look to anyone to be your savior.
Yeah.
I think there are points you can take from all different areas, whether you like them, you don't like them. There's validity in a lot of different things. And I think we can utilize a lot of different things in ways that will benefit us. But when you give away your power of believing there's this one person or this one way, it means that you've you've really limited yourself. You've really limited yourself to what is possible. And when you focus on just you and doing whatever it is that you need to do to make your reality better, higher frequency, more loving, more accepting, more fun, like whatever it is, then you are on mission. You are
Yeah.
already doing like this thing, and the stuff that's going on, that's why I really don't like to pay attention anymore. I really pulled away from all the different political talks on both sides of the aisles, because it really does just take you away from that work.
Yes, absolutely. And we already know they are just finger puppets. They
Yeah.
are just finger puppets being puppeted by the back-facing controllers that are so brave that they have to stay in hiding, you know. And that will be phase 3, by the way, of my anointing, is going to Venice and going to do the final takedown.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh,
that may sound arrogant to people, but that is just the calling. I have known that my whole life, that I'm here to restore order. Not just me, of course, but I'm here to restore order with the silly billies. And back to what I was wanting to say about the joy frequency, the healers are able to hold about 30 minutes of joy. But in order for us to tip mass consciousness, we must be in 3 hours of sustained joy a day. Think about how much ascension will happen for the person if they are able to hold the highest vibration in their body, sustaining it for 3 hours. I am in this 24/7.
that's a
That's why I say
calorie
when,
burner. That's a calorie
yes,
burner.
yes, that's why even for the people that are coming to Greece, they are very calibrated, clear channels, because for them to be around me, even to not be used to being around a human, or in human form, I shall say, for 12 to 16 hours a day of me just emitting joy, joy, joy. When I get very joyful, I go into ecstasy. I have ecstasy bursts and I shapeshift into a full bee.
Mm.
Not the size of a bee, of course, but my body will contort, etc. And I will start singing. My point for that is that ecstasy, if we look at why, even in the Healy Feely community, why people will want to leave and do the ayahuasca ceremonies, other such things, is they're actually chasing their original coding, which is being able to access prolonged states of ecstasy.
Yeah,
That is
no, I
why we
mean,
have, yes,
I've experienced that both in ayahuasca and in mushroom journeys. And what I would say has been really beneficial of doing that was it reminded me of what it feels like, and that I can hold that that long. And so it taught me to like do that on my own, and work with that
yes,
frequency. And so I think it can definitely serve a purpose and a benefit, but to use it as escapism because you can't do it on your own, that is where, again, it's one of those things where you think that you need something outside of you to
yes,
assist you. But in
yes,
some cases, I feel like for me, I'll just speak to my own personal experience. It opened doors for me that I didn't know were actually open for me. And
yeah,
so maybe it just pointed or showed me where the door was, it
yeah,
was already open. And then I was like, oh, okay, I can do this. Yeah. Oh, I remember. Oh, okay. And so that was like a
yeah.
beautiful gift in that way.
I agree with you. There is no judgment around that. People can have the experiences they wish to have because we came here to have experiences, you
Hmm.
know. But like you said, it is similar to moving or leaving a job or leaving a relationship. We can either try to run away from something or move towards something. So if people are going in there to enhance experience, or like you say, to anchor the memory of, oh, yes, I actually have this ability to do this without enhancement, then it can be a little more liberating. And to your point around the saving, the secondary piece of this is people will often say, nobody is here to save you. You need to save yourself. Well, what if none of us needed saving? Because to even view ourselves as a victim, or that there's a problem, saving implies that there's a problem. It
Hmm.
is a judgment. But we are not, we don't need to be saved. We are simply here remembering our
Hmm.
original coding, which is in part our field of sovereignty. But that
Yeah.
is literally the mastery that individually and collectively we are here for now, which is why we are being given so many opportunities to be in the juxtaposition of sovereignty and saving, so that we can see the contrast and
Hmm.
see which one feels lighter and which one feels like more true to who we really be in the core of our original coding.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was such a pleasure to have you here, Mother Malia. Thank you so
Oh,
much for joining me. Please let my audience know. I know you have a book and where they can reach you, and if you've got anything that they can sign up for or be a part of.
yes. Well, yes, I have my 12th book is called Daily Messages from Mother Malia, the Great Mother. So that is like you can read it every single day for little love nuggets, or you can just open up the page to the page you most need, almost like a big oracle deck. And yes, there are many books on the Amazon. Some of them I have to take down, as I mentioned, because I'll have to clear the distortion out of some of them unintentional, of course. You know what I'm saying? Uh, and then if people would like to stay in touch, the best way to do that probably is either, well, go to my website, souljourneys.ca, or to find me on the social media, but it will be under Jennifer Longmore, as I mentioned, because they will not let me change my name to Mother Malia.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'll leave links for everyone in the description below so you can access that and find Mother Malia faster. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And
Thank
to my audience, I
you.
hope you enjoy this. It was
Oh,
super wonderful. And I just want to remind my audience that I have my Forbidden Journey retreat in 2 months in Breckenridge, Colorado here. And if you would like to come or you're thinking of coming, I've added more information. So I'm going to leave the retreat link down below. We're calling it the 3-day 180. So if you'd like to come, I'd love to see you there. There are still tickets available. Guys, I love you so much. Have an incredible week, and I'll see you next time. Thanks again for joining me for another show on the Enlighten Up podcast. I love you guys so much for all of your continued support. So remember to raise your vibe, find your tribe, and be open to the infinite possibilities held in the mysteries that surround us all. Thanks again for sharing the show with your family and friends. And if you're new to the show and you need to find out more information about me, please head on over to my website, NicoleFrolick.com, where you can join my newsletter. And please follow me on Instagram, Telegram, and YouTube. Keep your light bright, and I'll see you next week.